Life with Jason Clemmons in DC. We are live right here from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios on Wednesday, May 22nd. And we are on social media on 3 different social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, and X. And we are on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio and 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. And you guys that need it, it's the Live 365 app. You can get it on your phone, take it with you anywhere. Look for Walk by Faith Radio. You can listen to us anywhere on your phone, or you can download us and stream us, or whatever it's called, 987radio.com. So we are available. We're available every night from 6 to 7. We bring you Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. DC stands for Doctor of Chiropractic. That's what I am. I practice right here in Lubbock, Texas at the Rock Health and Wellness Center. And we do chiropractic. We do wellness chiropractic that's based in functional neurology. We look at the physical, chemical, and mental emotional stresses that a person has. We try to address all those things so that your nervous system functions as optimally as possible, your brain stays healthy, your body stays healthy, so that you can go out there and shine your light as bright as possible into the world. That's what the show's about. That's what we're trying to do. So if you guys are new to the show, I know I've had several people talk to me this week that didn't know about the show, or they're just tuning in, or they're brand new to our office. You guys, welcome. All you guys who are new to the show, all you guys that listen to the show all the time, thank you. Appreciate it. I hope it's valuable for you. Hope we're getting somewhere. Maybe we are. I hope so. We keep stacking it up and going over it and over it and over it again. And I think we're moving in the right direction on some of it. So thank you for all you guys that listen to the show. Thank you for the feedback we get and the messages and the comments that I get on a daily basis. If you guys are out there listening to us either on the radio or on social media, you can send me a text. We are live. So you can send me a text at 806-794-0400. 806-794-0400. That's our text line. Or you can send me a message. It's the Rock Health and Wellness Centers on Facebook. It's at Jason Clemmons DC, at Jason Clemmons DC on X, or it's at Health from the Rock on YouTube. So all those are the places that if you got comments or questions, if you got something you want me to talk about, if there's a subject that you want me to talk about, or if there's something you'd like to know that you'd like me to help you with, send me a message, send me a text. I'll put it together. We'll make a show out of it. And this weekend's going to be great because we've got extra days. I have everybody asking me, what are you going to do this summer? Where are you going? Where are you going this summer? And you guys got any plans to go on trips and all that stuff? I got to tell you, and this is the honest truth, I may have the absolute best job on the planet. Like, it's actually depressing for me. I know it sounds stupid, but it's actually depressing for me to go on vacation. I need it. I need the rest. I get it. I need the rest. I don't really need the rest as much as I need my brain to see something different. I think that's really good for us. Jordan Peterson really taught me that in the 2 books, The Maps of Meaning and his 12 Rules for Life, talking about upgrading your life by getting your eyes on something new. He didn't say it exactly that way, but I totally believe that. And that's why I think it's a good idea to go on vacation. But man, I got to leave doing what I'm doing in one of the best places in the world to do it in, Southwest Lubbock, Texas, in a beautiful building with people I love. It just is like, okay, well, let's go get a hotel room somewhere and go walk in the sand. It doesn't even make any sense to me. But this weekend we got 3 days, and so I might actually have some time to put together some shows that you might want to hear. So I know that there's one recommendation. We're going to put together a show. We'll get it done next week, and it will be about sugar and anxiety. That's been one of the questions. And then I'm getting ready to talk over here at the Lake Ridge Chapel Funeral Home. They do this really cool thing called the WISE group. And it's wisdom. I don't even know what it stands for. Wisdom something. It's it's cool. I mentioned it before. I'll be over there. I believe it's Tuesday, the 4th of June. It's like the first and third Tuesdays of the month. So I think it's on the 4th of June, which is just in 2 weeks. We'll be over there and doing a show or a live talk over there talking about brains and head, shoulders, knees, and toes, I think is the title of the talk. So we'll be talking about the whole body and functional movement and all that sort of thing. So that's something that we do. So I'll be getting some of that done this weekend as well. So I'm looking forward to having a little bit of time to preparing. And so, but if you got something you want to talk about, because I think last night was pretty cool. We talked about sprained ankles and what to do with the sprained ankle and how we deal with sprained ankles here in the office. I sent a text. I haven't gotten a response back about how the girl was doing with her sprained ankle, but we did talk about it. And then sure enough, first thing this morning, one of my patients came in and said, "Hey, I was listening to you last night, and this is where my foot hurts." And she was talking about the bottom of her foot and that plantar fascia, and we're going to talk about that plantar fascia just a little bit tonight, just to kind of give you a little bit more knowledge about it. But we'll share that with you here in just a bit. But it was a good show last night. If you missed it, you can go back and watch it, and it was something that I think that people really don't know much about how to deal with those sort of things. So, and is a thing that we learned back in the 60s or 70s or 80s or 90s, the same thing that we actually do today with it. And it's really not. A lot of research is saying that we really don't want to decrease the nervous system. We want to use heat instead of ice. And I know that sounds totally backwards to a lot of us, but like you sprain your ankle, put heat on it. Like that's like, what? I thought you're supposed to put an ice pack on it. And it's like, well, actually, ice decreases nervous system function. Ice decreases nervous system function. So think about that. What does the healing? The brain does the healing. The brain works through the nervous system to do the healing. So do we really want to slow down nervous system function when we need to be healing? Is it bad to have inflammation and swelling in a foot that needs inflammation and swelling? It's probably not. So if you had to do something, maybe it's actually heat. That's what they're saying nowadays. That's the new science behind sprained ankles, that you might have something different going on. So let me touch on one other thing before we go any further on the show. Today is my 31st wedding anniversary, and 31 years ago, I married my best friend. We dated for 6 years. We met when we were 12, and in 7th grade. We started dating in the spring of our sophomore year in high school. We dated for 6 years through college. She graduated college. I had one more year left playing football at Tech, and we got married in the summer of 1993, May 22nd, 1993. And so today is our 31 year wedding anniversary, and I couldn't be more happily married. She's been my best friend basically for 37 years. So I love Leslie. I appreciate her. I appreciate her that all the things that she does to take care of my life. And she's the best mom that a guy could ask to be married to. And she's a fantastic wife, and she's also a lot of fun to be with. I get to spend a lot of my life with her. She runs my front desk, and she runs our front desk. This is our office, not just my office. And she handles stuff up there, and it's just we spend our life together, and I couldn't be more happy. And I told her today we went and cleared the schedule off for the most of the day. We worked this morning, and then we had a break in the middle of the day, and we went and got some breakfast, and we were talking. I said, "Well, you got any plans for the next 31 years?" And she just kind of laughed, and she's like, she's not really that kind of gal. She doesn't really analyze things like I do and break them all down and put them into systems and all that. She's really more free spirited, and she's way more intelligent than I am. So she handles things much better than I do. So I love you, Les, and thanks for being my wife. And that's good enough. Okay, so let's talk just a little bit about about the plantar fascia and what it actually is. And because you guys, we talked about the sprained ankle yesterday, and then kind of we showed a picture of it, and we were talking about the talus. And I'll see if I can look at it this way, just so we can pull up a couple different things. Let me get this out of the way here. Yeah, so we were looking at this yesterday, and we were looking at the ankle. So here's the tibia. You guys on the radio, we got a picture of the foot with all the bones. So we got the bottom of the leg, the tibia is coming down. We got the talus that's in green shaded right here. That's the bone that fits between the tibia and the calcaneus. And then there's your heel bone, and then you got a set of bones in the middle right here, and then you got these long bones that are coming, and then your toes that are coming in there. So your tarsals, your metatarsals, and your phalanges. That's what you got going on down in your foot, but it doesn't really matter. But you have there's a peroneus. Let me see if I can find a picture of the plantar fascia. Yeah, this is a great picture of it. And this is the bottom of the foot. Whoa, it's a little bit big right there. There we go. So I think that, there we go. Yeah, that's what it looks like for all you guys that are watching this on the show. You guys that are listening to us on the radio, what we got is a picture of the bottom of the foot. And the picture of the bottom of the foot is there is this fascia, and they call it the plantar aponeurosis, whatever. This is the plantar fascia, is what we know it, and it's kind of a thicker cartilage type material that is connected to your calcaneus over here, your heel bone, and then it runs across the bottom of your foot, and then you've got these divisions that are going to all the parts of your toe. And the fascia part of it is actually under this plantar aponeurosis, the thicker ligament, and then the fascia is coming in underneath it. And you got to remember that the fascia is innervated. It is the largest. I mean, it's just all over your body, and you've got it. The nervous system is in that fascia all over your body. That's where your muscles get, when they start to get stuck together. It adheres. I was working on a TMJ earlier today, and we've been working on this TMJ for several weeks because we were having lots of TMJ disorder on a gal that and when I worked on this temporalis muscle right across the side of her head, and it was just like little bitty ropes. It was very, very rigid. There was like one little ridge and another little ridge and another little ridge across that temporalis muscle that's just above your jaw, and that temporalis muscle runs on this whole flat part of your head right here. So that muscle has a lot to do with the way that your jaw works, and when the fascia around that muscle gets in little adhesions, then you'll start to feel like ridges in the muscle. It's not a smooth muscle. It's like it's all caught up. And I use the analogy of Saran wrap on Thanksgiving when you're using leftovers. I said this the other night. You try to get your mashed potatoes out of the refrigerator, which I know that's back in the old days when you used to eat mashed potatoes, right? But you take that Saran wrap off of there, get you a scoop of mashed potatoes, and then you put the Saran wrap back over the top of the mashed potatoes. It doesn't always fit just right because that Saran wrap will adhere to itself. It will stick. It will stick to itself, and then you're trying to figure out how to get it all back, right? Well, that fascia kind of does that same thing. And remember, anytime that we put itis on a word, what we're getting is plantar fasciitis, right? Itis means inflammation. So we've got inflammation of that fascia on the bottom of the foot, and that hurts. And that hurts. And so a lot of times what happens is we lose the arch in the foot. And there's muscles that are supposed to hold that foot up, and that foot will go into what we call pronation. That your foot will flatten so that the inside of your foot starts to stretch. Well, you can just imagine if I have a string going from my fingers all the way down to the palm of my hand right here that's running across, and I straighten my foot out, my hand out, I'm going to be pulling on that fascia. So if I lose the arch in my foot and I stretch that whole thing, I'm going to pull right off of that calcaneus, that heel bone, right there on the bottom, and then you're going to get that heel spur that comes off that, because there's a law of physics called Wolff's law, biophysics, I guess. Wolff's law is that means that a bone grows in the direction of force. That's what bone spurs are all over your body. You're pulling on that bone some reason, or you're pressing on that bone in some form or fashion, and it's causing that bone to grow in the direction of force. So when this foot flattens and this whole thing pulls, because the ball of the foot now has elongated itself away from the calcaneus, your toes move away from your heel, and you pull right there, this becomes inflamed on the bottom of your foot, and you've got, or if for some reason your foot's not functioning properly, then you'll pull on that bone and you'll get a heel spur. Now, one of the things that is a misnomer, or a misunderstanding, is that people think their heel spur is the source of their pain. And that's not true. Your heel spur is just a bone growth. Heel spurs don't hurt. The inflammatory process of the aponeurosis and the fascia pulling against the bone, creating an inflammatory process at that site, that's what hurts. You've got that the pulling part. You got the pulling part, and that pulling part is inflamed. Because if you get that inflammation to go away, you won't have any pain in your foot, regardless if you have a spur or not. Now, I have had a guy that had a spur on the back of the heel that was affecting the Achilles tendon, and the tendon was actually moving across that like a sawing motion, moving across the back of that spur on the back side of that heel. And there was the only fix that we came up with, and it wasn't me who came up with it, but the only fix that we could come up with is surgery. And that's what he ended up having. And he ended up having is they went in there and sawed or shaved that bone spur off the backside of his heel that was rubbing on that Achilles, and that stopped his pain. And but that's not inflammation of the spur. The spur wasn't inflamed. It was just that you can just imagine. It's kind of like one of those old movies where you see the guy hanging off the cliff and he's hanging by a rope, and then the rope is starting to fray and it's starting to tear. Well, that's kind of what was going on with that Achilles moving across that bone spur on the backside of that heel, and that caused that problem. So you got to get the inflammation out of that foot, and you got to get that foot to function the way it's supposed to. And that's where you get into the muscles that are involved in getting the foot functioning properly, and the neurology of the foot. That's where we always go back to the brain, and that's we remember the brain is inhibiting your frontal lobe. Your frontal lobe is inhibiting your flexor muscles. My mom the other day, I said that to her, and she's like, "What does inhibit mean?" And she's like, She told me something that was like, she said, "Every time you say that, I think of something else." And I was like, "Well, okay, I should use another word. The brain turns off the flexor muscles. Your brain. Okay, Just do an experiment with me right quick. Just get yourself in a calm, just set up, kind of put your feet down on the ground, put your palms right on your thighs. If you're driving down the road, don't do this, but just kind of put yourself in a comfortable position. All right. And then I want you to think about your shoulders. And I want you to think about your trap muscles, right? I want you to think about your shoulders, and I want you to see if you can make your shoulders relax. Just like really take a breath in, let that breath out. See if you need to move your shoulders around just a little bit, and then maybe move your hands around just a little bit. And then see if you can start to really let it relax. There it is right there. I can feel my shoulders just kind of start to relax a little bit right there. Okay, what's happening? My brain is decreasing the firing pattern to the muscle to allow the muscle to relax. My brain is inhibiting muscle contraction. You could do that with any muscle in the body. You can really try to focus on a particular muscle, like maybe your forearm or your bicep or your pec muscle or your foot, anything, anywhere. Like, can you really get that to relax? Now think about it. Why is it not relaxed? It's not relaxed because it's in flexion. It's contracted. That's why it's not relaxed, because it's contracted. That would be the opposite of relaxed. So what's causing it to be contracted? Your nervous system. That's what causes the muscle to be contracted in some form or fashion. Even when your chemistry is wrong, you're messing up your nervous system. So the nervous system is contracting the muscle. It's the nervous system that gives you the tone. That's the fun. What D.D. Palmer said about that's what chiropractic was actually based on, based on tone. When it's like there is a healthy tone that the body is supposed to have. You just put your hands on somebody. Just put your hands on somebody's shoulder. Well, that's really tight right there. Or, man, that feels, there's a ease, there's a relaxation, there's a natural tone of a human body. And some people's tone is too tight, it's too contracted, right? Well, the frontal lobe, one of the jobs of the frontal lobe is to inhibit the flexor muscles. We talk about that a lot. And I need to say it again. The job of the frontal lobe. Now, what does that mean? The frontal lobe splits your brain into 4 quadrants. So, split it into an upper and a lower quadrant, and a right and a left quadrant. If you split the brain into an upper and a lower quadrant, you basically have 2 lobes of the brain in the upper quadrant. You have the frontal lobe and you have the parietal lobe, and you have one on each side. Those are the different lobes. And then you could split the lobes in the bottom, and this is not exactly how they're split, but then you have the temporal lobe and you have the occipital lobe on the bottom. And so that's the different lobes that we have. Well, the frontal lobe right here, one of its jobs is to turn off, which is another way of saying to inhibit, or to turn down the tone of your flexor muscles. What does that mean? A flexor muscle decreases the angle of the joint. You flex your bicep, you contract your bicep, you flex your forearm forward. The angle of this joint goes from 180 degrees down to 30 degrees or something, right? So now we've got flexion. So that means that my bicep is a flexion. If I want to flex my wrist, then that means that my forearm on the front of my forearm is flexion. If I want to flex my torso, I've come down, my psoas is flexing my torso. It's a flexor. My pec is a flexor. If I want to bring my head down, decrease the angle of my neck, that's SCM is a flexor. So those are major flexor muscles, but above the waist, they're on the front of your body. Below your waist, they're on the back of your body. Your hamstring is a flexor muscle. Your calf is a flexor muscle. So when you flex your calf, you push your toe down into the ground. It's called plantar flexion. You push your toe into the ground when you flex that soleus and that calf. That's what's going on down there. Well, we run into a break. Hang on. We're going to be right back after these messages. You guys hang on with us, and we'll be right back with Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, right after these messages on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio. So below the waist, your flexor muscles are on the back of your body. So one of the things about plantar flexion, one of the aspects, not all the aspects, and it's on the same side. So you move it into your foot. You've got those flexors on the bottom of your foot, and you've got flexion, got increased tone on your flexor muscles. Your hamstring and your calf is tight. That can affect the way that your foot is functioning, and you can end up with your inflammation on the bottom down there, plantar fasciitis. You'll end up with that inflammation on the bottom of your foot, and part of it's because your brain's not firing properly. No one's going to tell you that. No one's going to tell you that. Physical therapists aren't going to tell you that. Medical doctors aren't going to tell you that. Nurse practitioners aren't going to tell you that. You should look at your brain to see, hey, you mean if my brain's not functioning properly, then I could end up with a plantar fascia problem? Yes. I've got a lady. It's happening to her right now, and we're trying to get her brain fixed. We're doing the neurofeedback with her to try to get her brain to function better so that we can solve the problem that's going on in her leg. So that's a big deal for us. We're really working on that hard right now, try to make that happen. So I'm really interested to see if we could get that done, because it's going to make a huge impact on a lot of people if we can make that happen. And we've been working on making it happen for a long time, but I haven't gotten the exact right tools to figure out what to do. And I think maybe I got the tool this time that helps solve her particular problem. I really am looking forward to finding out about that. So hang on one second. Let me get us back on the radio. Okay, everybody, this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we are talking about plantar fasciitis tonight for a second. It's not what all the shows are going to be about, but it's what a little bit of the show is about. We're just talking about, just because we were talking about ankle sprains last night, we brought it up, someone brought it up, and just wanted to just go over it. So that's what we've been doing. You get inflammation on the foot. So what do you do about that? Well, check your brain first. Make sure that your brain is working properly. Then make sure that the muscles of your foot are working properly, and the muscles in your calf, all those muscles that have to do with what's going on around that area, the bottom of your foot, that's just important stuff that they're working properly. That's where we have muscle work in the office. We also make sure that the foot's adjusted properly. So the bones can be misaligned. You can have plantar fasciitis issues because you've got subluxation in your feet, knees, hips, in the whole chain on its way down. That's the other thing. And then you might need to do some actual soft tissue work on the bottom of the foot. And so there's a combination of things that work. And you guys that have dealt with this, you've dealt with it for enough time that like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And the reason I think that it doesn't is because there's multiple steps to it. Same thing that Dale Bredesen says about the end of Alzheimer's. They'll never find one drug that cures Alzheimer's because there's 31 things that contribute to Alzheimer's, and no single drug can cover 31 things. Same thing with these ailments that we have in our body. If we understand, we should start with the brain. We should get the inflammation out of our body. We should make sure that the joints are moving properly. Then we should make sure that the soft tissue is working. It could be a multifaceted problem. So anyway, that's enough about that. So we talked a little bit last night about. Let me say one more thing because it came up again today. I'll say it again. If you've got type 2 diabetes, I just had this conversation this afternoon. If you got type 2 diabetes, you could turn that whole thing around if you just quit eating carbohydrates and refined carbohydrates. If you would quit eating refined carbohydrates, you could turn your type 2 diabetes around. And I said, no more pizza, no more birthday cakes, no more white bread, no more white potatoes. Stop it. And she was like, well, Tuesday night's pizza night. And I'm like, I'm telling you, you've been invited to a banquet. You need to go back and watch Monday's show. You've been invited to a health banquet, and you are too busy with your oxen that you just got, or this new field you got to go check out, or whatever. And you're missing the invitation to the health banquet when you're going to eat pizza. Because it's going to be pizza on one night, it's going to be birthday cake on another night, and it's going to be a bowl of ice cream just one night a week. And pretty soon we're just firing. One of my other guys came in and he was talking about Glucerna. Like that's what they gave him. That's what they're telling him. I said, "What'd you have to eat today?" And he was like, "Well, hadn't felt too good, but what I had was a glass of milk." And I was like, "Okay, wait a minute, what? Let's don't do that. Like, we don't need that." And he said, "Well, they tell me to eat Glucerna. I've been doing that." So Glucerna nutrition facts. Yeah, so we just looked it up. Glucerna nutrition facts, and he Glucerna. And so I was like, all right, well, we'll find one of them right here. So we looked at it, and we looked at like, no, that was the chocolate bar. Let me see if I can find the drink. There it was. So this is one serving size, one bottle, 8 fluid ounces. And you look on the back of it, and there's 26 grams of carbohydrates, and there's 6 grams of sugar. 26 grams of carbohydrates in this little bottle right here. Like let me just ask. Well, let's just do this right quick. All right. Carbs in sirloin steak. Let's just see what DuckDuckGo says. This is nutritionix.com and sirloin steak. And I'll just look it up. Total carbohydrates, zero. Zero carbohydrates in a sirloin steak. Okay, let's go back up to the top and let's see if we can change it and change it to asparagus. I'll just change it. I got to get out of this one because they didn't have asparagus, but we'll put carbs in asparagus. This is some from very, very well fit asparagus. Per 1/2 cup of cooked asparagus, you got 3.7 grams of carbohydrate and you got 1.8 grams of fiber. So you're telling a person, what should I eat what should I eat? Should I eat Glucerna, which has um, 26 grams of carbohydrates in it, 6 grams of added sugar? There's 26 grams of carbohydrates. Or I could eat a sirloin steak and a half a cup of asparagus. I could eat a full cup of asparagus if I wanted to. I could eat a full cup of asparagus and get 7.4 carbohydrates. And I could eat a 20-ounce sirloin steak and get 0 carbohydrates. I'm telling you, if you're getting your advice in the medical model about diabetes, you might as well just, I'm telling you, it's not good. Anybody that tells you to drink Ensure for diabetes and Glucerna for diabetes, I've been down that road before. I've gone to Walmart and bought it for my father-in-law right up till the time he died. It's and I had this conversation twice this afternoon with people that come into my office, and it's like, dude, seriously. And I said, eat eggs and sausage for breakfast. And she said, I don't like eggs. And I said, well, eat steak for breakfast. And she's like, you don't really think I'm going to eat a steak for breakfast, do you? And I was like, well, okay, don't eat a steak for breakfast. It's like, go ahead and eat more sugar for breakfast and just see what happens. Like, I can show you what happens. I've been down this road before. If you guys are diabetic, you can eat meat and vegetables, and you can almost change your whole type 2 diabetes in 8 weeks. You could get rid of it. They did it on The Biggest Loser for every time, and The Biggest Loser sucks. Like, that's not health, right? But you can get rid of your type 2 diabetes. You can reverse your liver disease. You can stop this whole nonsense. And I said, well, what are you taking? She's like, metformin, and now there's Jardia or something. She gave me this whole list of medications that they're going to try to balance. What did we say last night with Dr. Chestnut? What we said last night with Dr. Chestnut was, we said that pathology is unadapted physiology. That it's not really disease. It's your body not being able to adapt to the environment that you're in. That's what type 2 diabetes is your body not being able to adapt to the environment. And you think that if I take my metformin, it's okay for me to eat my pizza. Go ahead. It's not gonna help you. Okay, enough of that, because I hate it when I get all passionate about this stuff. But it's every single day that I come to work. It's every single day that I have somebody who's dying. You know how much it sucks? You know how many people have told me about my dad? Like, hey, well, we're really sorry for your dad. You know, I'm really sorry for your dad. Okay, I was really sorry for my father-in-law. He died when he was 68, maybe 69. My dad lived at least till 80. But when my father-in-law died, my kids lost their grandpa when he was 68, simply because he wouldn't quit eating sugar. Not because someone ran over him with a truck, not because somebody shot him at Walmart, not because of something that he didn't have any control over, right? It was 100% self-inflicted death, because we can't stop our pizza night on Tuesday, or we can't stop eating birthday cake with our grandkids who shouldn't be eating birthday cake in the first place, right? Don't believe it. Don't buy that story. It's death it's death for you. And it's premature death for you, if in my opinion. Okay, enough. Let's be happy tonight, right? It's my anniversary. We got about 15 minutes left. Let's talk about some cool things. Physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. Those are the things that cause interference in your nervous system. Remember, physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. So physical stress, everyone pretty much gets it. I got in a car wreck. I sat at a desk all day long. One of my dentists said I spent 30 years looking this way. Yep, her neck's jacked up, her low back's jacked up. I spent 30 years looking that way. Right? I talked to one of my golfers today. He's got right side neck problems, right? Because he said, look, every time I swing a golf club, I watched it. I watch the ball, and after I hit the ball, I try to find the ball, and I play a lot of golf. And so what am I doing? I'm turning my head one direction all the time. And I said, yep, you got to get your golf club out and swing the golf club left-handed. Get out there in the backyard, add it to your exercise routine where you can get symmetry of motion in both directions. That's what's going to help solve that problem, is symmetry of motion in both directions. So we get balanced brain, we get balanced body in that way. Okay, those are physical stresses, and we get the physical part of interference, right? But we've also got chemical stresses, which is the bread that we ate that caused our thumbs to get a little bit inflamed, right? The white flour, the white sugar, the cakes, the ice creams, the high omega 6s, the all those sort of things that we get a bunch of that keeps us inflamed. Those are chemical stresses, not to mention all of the things in the air when the wind blows and all that stuff, right? But mentally emotional stresses as well. And In the Body Keeps the Score, I just wanted to read just a little passage just so we could kind of remember it, right? And this is The Body Keeps the Score, page 96, The Self Under Threat. In 2000, Damasio and his colleagues published an article in the world's foremost scientific publication, Science, which reported that reliving a strong negative emotion causes significant changes in the brain areas that receive nerve signals from the muscles, gut, and skin, the areas that are crucial for regulating basic bodily functions. The team's brain scans showed that recalling an emotional event from the past causes us to actually re-experience the visceral sensations felt during the original event. What does that mean? That means that if you had a stressful event sometime in your life and you relive that event again, you're going to end up feeling the same thing, like in your gut and your muscles. Your body you will feel the same sensation when you relive the stressor as you did when you felt it the original time. Um, each type of emotion produces a characteristic pattern distinct from others. For example, a particular part of the brainstem was active in sadness and anger, but not in happiness or fear. All of these brain regions are below the limbic system, to which emotions are traditionally assigned, yet we acknowledge their involvement every time we use one of these common expressions that link strong emotions with the body. You make me sick. It made my skin crawl. I was all choked up. My heart sank. He makes me bristle. The elementary self system in the brain stem and limbic system is massively activated when people are faced with the threat of annihilation, which results in an overwhelming sense of fear and terror accompanied by intense physiological arousal. To people who are reliving a trauma, nothing makes sense. They are trapped in a life or death situation, a state of paralyzing fear or blind rage. Mind and body are constantly aroused as if they are in imminent danger. Mind and body are they startle in response to the slightest noises, and they are frustrated by small irritations. Their sleep is chronically disturbed, and food often loses its sensual pleasure. This in turn can trigger desperate attempts to shut off those feelings down by freezing and disassociation. How do people regain control when their animal brains are stuck in fight for survival? What if it goes on deep inside our animal brains? If what goes on deep inside our animal brains dictates how we feel, and if our body sensations are orchestrated by subcortical, subconscious brain structures, how much control over them can we actually have? So, just wanted to read that because you guys, if you're in a situation that is stressful and you relive that stressful situation, your body is going to keep the score. Your body is actually going to remember what it was that you went through, and you're going to get that same sensation again, which means you might end up you're not might you will fire the same physiology, you will fire the same stress response, you will fire the same adrenal gland, get the cortisol, increase your blood sugar, you will your hippocampus will shrink. That's a part of your brain that helps you with memory and that sort of thing. remembering past experiences, all that sort of thing. So you've got areas in your brain that will shrink. You've got areas in your brain that will become overactive. You will lose the ability from a top-down perspective. Your upper brain will lose the ability to inhibit your lower brain. All those things will go on when you're firing this. You'll lose the ability to concentrate. You'll lose the ability to have factual learning. You'll get stressed out and you'll go to the store and you went for one thing and you bought 9 things, but you forgot the one thing that you went for, right? Those are things, and those are things that mental emotional stress is something that wears us down. It causes interference in our nervous system, and it causes our body to malfunction and not function, and end up with some sort of symptom. So addressing the symptom from the cause is a way better idea than addressing the symptom with some sort of pharmacological agent that doesn't have anything to do with the cause. You've still got the mechanisms running underneath the system. You just can't feel them anymore because you blocked them with some sort of medication. And that's really not healthy for you at all. You got to get that pathway broken. You got to get that system you got to get that system gone, and it's really happening in your brain. People say, well, is it all in my head? Yep, it is. It's in your brain. And that whole mechanism in the brain, when you run back through it, sets the body back into those responses. So that's mental emotional stress. There's physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. Any of those things can cause your body to break down. Those are the things that we address every single day. So what is a way of really handling that? Well, I had a really interesting experience this week. And I'm going to just say this without any scientific evidence. It's simply clinical evidence of my own, and it's my own opinion. So I'm just going to, what do they call that? This is I forget the word. When I wear my glasses, I forget words sometimes. This is my own opinion. This particular person meditates for 2.5 hours every morning. It's part of his job. But it's also the things that he studies and the things that he does. So he's all into meditation. And I ask him, does he do that on his feet? And he said, no, he sits down and meditates. And this week was the first time ever. I believe it was on Tuesday. It was Tuesday. So it was Monday night, early in Tuesday morning, when I was getting prepared for this report, that it was the first time ever that I actually commentary. That's the word I was looking for. This is my commentary. This is the first time that I actually cognitively thought about whether or not meditation is healthy. And I don't know if meditation is healthy, but I can tell you being off your feet like that is not healthy. I think what I actually really believe is that if you spent 2.5 hours walking instead of 2.5 hours meditating, you'd be healthier. Let me say it that way. I don't know if meditation is healthy or not. I know the guy that created yoga died of a heart attack after a speech, and I think he was in Washington, D.C. when he gave a speech, and he fell over and died. This whole meditation thing, I think mindfulness is great. I think concentration is great. All those things. I'm not bashing them, and I'm not bashing his meditation. But if you were going to ask me which one I thought was more important, whether or not I should meditate for 2 hours or whether I should walk for 2 hours, I think your walking for 2 hours would actually be better for you. I think if you're going to actually meditate while you're walking, walk and be silent, that's fine. But I think getting on your feet, moving your feet is better for you than sitting down and not moving your feet. And if you're having problems, if you're having mental, emotional problems, and you're not sure what to do, or if you're very irritated or agitated, or if you're having high levels of anxiety, depression, concentration issues, anything that has to do with brain function, move your feet. Get on your feet and move your feet. And that's the end of my commentary right there. But I never thought of it before, really. To tell you the honest truth, it's one of those things that I've heard, and I've read Robert Kabat-Zinn, or whatever his name is, John Kabat-Zinn, the Mindful book. I've read those things, and I think there's a time to pray. Go in your closet and pray, and all that sort of thing. Yes, I think those things are good, and I think it's time just to be quiet just a little bit. Just get some calm in your life. I think that's great. But I really think moving your feet is healthy for you. I think it's healthy for your brain, and I think moving your feet for 2 hours is healthier than meditating for 2 hours. Okay, I got about 3 minutes left to go on the show. There's a really interesting book, and I was going to get into it. It's called Vibrational Medicine. It's by Richard Gerber, MD. And it talks about energy and the energy of the body and psychic healing and subtle energy technologies and all kinds of different. I mean, it kind of gets a human energy field. It gets out there, right? It's like it's really kind of wild, some of the stuff that he talks about. But one of the things he talks about is the salamander. And I don't know if you guys have ever if you've ever known anything about a salamander, but the salamander, basically, what he breaks down is the poles of the salamander, the positive and negative. And the brain and the spinal cord is the positive, and the limbs are the negative. And so what he found, or what they found with salamanders, I'm not even going to try to read it because we don't have enough time, but what they found with salamanders, if you cut the arm off of a salamander, the cells will de-differentiate back to stem cells, and it will grow a new arm. So if you cut the arm off a salamander, it will grow a new arm. But if you take in the first, I think it was 13 days, and if you take it in the first 13 days, and you take the stem cells from the shoulder and you move them down to the hip, the salamander will grow another leg off of its hip. Even though you didn't cut the leg off, it will grow another leg off of its hip. After 13 days, if you move those cells from the shoulder down to the hip, it will grow an arm off of its hip. It's interesting. So something is telling the energy, there's something that's telling those stem cells how they're supposed to behave. And that's the energy of the body. And if the stem cells are up on the shoulder, they're getting a certain vibration, a frequency that's telling them, hey, grow an arm. But if those stem cells are down on the hip, they're getting a different vibration or frequency, and it's telling them to grow a leg. I thought it was fascinating when I learned that out. But if you program that cell and then you tell that cell, okay, now grow an arm, and then you move it down to the hip, it's not going to de-differentiate, it's just going to grow an arm down on your hip. The point of that story is just that we're energy. It's energy that's traveling through our body. It's our brain and body connecting. It's the energy fields that are around us. It's the energy fields that we produce that interact with other people. It's the way that we can change the people around us by changing ourselves. And we want that energy to flow properly from the body to the brain and from the brain to the body. And when you get that energy field disrupted, in chiropractic, we call it a subluxation. Subluxation means interference in the nervous system. And that's what we work on with physical, chemical, and mental emotional stresses that cause subluxation, that break your body down. And it's all about energy. Hey, that's all I got for you tonight. I've got to take my wife out to dinner for our 31st anniversary. Hope you guys have a great night, and we'll be back tomorrow night at 6 o'clock with Life with Jason Clemmons, DC.